You're looking at the home of over 1,500 fish.
The largest saltwater aquarium in the world.
These divers are getting set for feeding time.
You'll see who's going to get lunch. And learn more about marine animals as we visit the living seas at Disney's Epcot Center today on New at the Zoo.
There's something exciting, something new, something wild is waiting for you. There's always something new at the Knoxville Zoo. A brand new adventure all year through, with lions and tigers and monkeys too. There's always something new at the Knoxville Zoo. A zoo for all seasons, oh yeah, for so many reasons. That's true. There's always something new. There's always something different to do. There's always something new at the Knoxville Zoo. There's always something new at the Knoxville Zoo.
That's just a taste of what you get to see today. Yeah, it really is.
We're
and
excited about this.
We are. Jane Davis is the aquarium curator here at the Living Seas. Jane, we've just seen a little snippet of what we're going to see the rest of the day on our show. What else is there in the Living Seas for us?
Well, at the Living Seas, you're going to be in the middle of the world's largest aquarium. And we have manatees, and we have dolphins, and lots of fish, and 3 sharks, 2 green sea turtles. Just about anything that your heart could desire for the seas.
Now, this is more than just an aquarium. There's a mission to this whole Living Seas.
Yeah, we have a really big mission. Our charge is hopefully everybody will walk out of here knowing a little bit more about the conservation of marine mammals, a little bit about the conservation of coral reefs and how to protect them, and also on just everything that you could think about conserving this great world, underwater world.
That's great. That's great.
And they have to eat too, right?
Yeah, and I hear it's fish feeding time.
It is fish feeding time.
Well, let's
Are we
go
gonna
see.
hit
Don't want to miss it.
So right now we're standing in the center of the world's largest marine coral reef, simulated coral reef environment. All around us is 5.7 million gallons of water. There are 2,000 fish with about 60 different species in the aquarium. The tank itself is 27 feet deep and 203 feet across. That's big enough to take Spaceship Earth, set it inside here, throw it around with still space on either side. Now the fish that you see in the exhibit would be found in the Florida Keys. They would be found living on or around about a 30-foot reef. Most of the animals that you see right here are grunt species that can be seen in large schools living on the reef. Now, as I said, we feed twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. We feed out about 100 pounds of restaurant quality seafood. The same food that goes to restaurants goes here. We feed out a variety of foods like shrimp, squid, clam, small fish like whitebait, krill, and pacifica, which is like a small krill. Krill is actually what some of the larger whales, the toothless whales, baleen whales, eat. They'll scoop that up in large amounts. Some of the food will broadcast on the surface, but what you see the divers doing right now is we actually go around and hand feed the fish. We try to keep track of who's eating, what they're eating, and how much. Now we do have animals of interest in the aquarium. We do have 2 endangered green sea turtles in the aquarium, a male and a female. Right now they can be seen down on the bottom eating. In the wild they eat turtle grass. There are no natural plants growing in this environment, so what we do is we bring down romaine lettuce for them. And each day the turtles eat approximately 16 heads each. Now the turtles themselves weigh about 400 pounds, and that's how they get that big just eating off the romaine lettuce. And we also have rays in the tank. We have 3 types of stingrays in the aquarium. Now, see, there's Alan. You'll notice this smaller ray that's one color and it's brown. That's an adult-sized cownose ray. This is a migratory species that can be seen migrating in large schools up and down the East Coast. Now, this spotted one, this is a spotted eagle ray. We have 2 individuals, a male and a female. These, when full grown, will get to be about 5 to 7 feet across. What's unique about these animals is we hand feed them throughout the day. You may notice Alan and shortly opening his hand and the ray coming up and take something out. What he's feeding them is whole clam. We feed them whole clam, they take the shell, crush that shell, spit out the shell, and keep the muscle that's on the inside. Now, rays don't have teeth. They have crushing plates they use to kind of crush up their food. In the wild, the spotted eagle ray would eat things like clams, scallops, shrimp. So we try to mimic their same diet here at the Living Seas, and also we try to feed them throughout the day as they normally would out in the wild. Now, we do have sharks in the aquarium. We have 3 sharks. They're called brown sharks. They're also called sandbar sharks. They like to hang out down in the bottom towards darker areas of the tank. Each one of them about 6.5 feet to 7 feet long, about 130 to 150 pounds. Now, in the wild, these particular species of shark would eat smaller fish. So to keep that from happening in our aquarium, we feed them from the surface. We feed them every other day from the surface. This way they associate the surface with food and not the fish in the aquarium or the other divers. Now, if a fish were to become injured in the tank and start a distress swim pattern, the fish may take it out, because that's the natural biological function of sharks in the wild, is to kind of weed out the injured and the weak. But they don't go around eating all the time. A lot of people ask how come the sharks are eating all the time. Well, what you see in movies and what you see on TV shows, a lot of times are sharks in frenzies, constantly eating and eating. Sharks can easily go 2 weeks without eating. We just feed them on a regular basis to try to keep them from eating other things in the tank and just make sure that they're happy. They don't always eat every other day, and we only feed them about 1.5 pounds of food each time.
So the fish feeding, pretty awesome seeing it underneath, but this is kind of a behind look scenes here at the Living Seas, and this is one of the gentlemen who was down there feeding the fish. And you're from Knoxville, Tennessee, right?
I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee.
There's way too much coincidence involved in this. This is just amazing.
Tell us a little bit about most people when they see all the fish down there and get a little antsy about having them all around. Tell us what you do. What is your job?
What is my job? We get to come in twice a day and do the fish feed. And what we'll do is one person will be doing the window feed, as you saw me doing, feeding some of the smaller fish you see swimming around. And then the other diver will feed some of the larger fish, some of the shyer fish as well, that usually can't really compete with some of the other fish you see in here. And what we'll do is, you saw that I had several different types of food. We had, in there I had shrimp, clam, a little bit of squid, some white bait. We had some krill and some of Pacifica, which is another type of small shrimp. Just kind of mix that up and kind of spread it out and try to make sure everybody gets their fill as they're swimming along there. So
Tell us,
I want to know what that felt like. I'm sure that's what people ask you all the time. And especially you had that ray like up on your head.
The first couple of times you do it, it does feel a little funny with all the fish around you, and you can't see, this far in front of your face, and because you're just surrounded by the fish.
And see you some of the time.
Yeah, and I can't see anything else most of the time either. And you just kind of have to feel your way around. You do have a lot of the fish just kind of coming up and nipping your ears and your hair and your fingers, and you do get your fingers caught in their mouths quite frequently. But it's just something you do get used to. It doesn't really hurt. And the rays also, they do come up and like to suck on your head, and
Oh yeah, that's lovely.
that's all takes a little bit of getting used to as well. So, but it's the greatest thing I've ever done. It's a lot of fun, and I have a good time doing it. And
We need to know how he got from Knoxville to here.
yeah, tell us about you from Knoxville, and you ended up here working at Disney.
Just growing up, always loved going to the ocean and snorkeling, and then got into diving and just found that fascinating. Getting to go underwater and swim with the fish was an incredible experience. And I decided then, why not make that, my career? If this is something I love to do, why not make that my career? So
We'll have more from the Living Seas at Disney World after this.
My name is DJ Schaefer. I go to Willowbrook School. I want to know, how do parrots have the knowledge to mimic people?
Well, actually, the interesting thing about that question is it isn't really based on knowledge. Their ability to speak or to mimic sounds is based on muscle structure in the neck. The reason they do that is because it's entertaining to them. It's simply something that they attempt because they like the way the word or sound sounds to them. It really isn't a knowledge thing. Now, that's not to say parrots aren't smart. Einstein, for example, is a very smart bird. Aren't you smart? Think.
No.
Oh, well, now, she's denying it, but she really is a very smart bird. What do you say when it's time to go?
Goodbye.
And can you give him a big kiss? That's very nice. Thank you very much for the great question.
We're back at the Living Seas at Epcot Center. Now let's listen in as a couple of the divers get set to communicate with the dolphins.
In a few minutes, we're going to be starting a research session with our two male Atlantic bottlenose dolphins, Bob and Toby. Now this particular project is our dolphin communication project. Using this large yellow dolphin keyboard behind me, we're trying to see whether or not the dolphins can learn an artificial symbolic language to communicate with us. Now, each one of those circular openings on the dolphin keyboard contains a three-dimensional object. The objects can represent several different things to the dolphins. They can represent different locations in the dolphin's environment. They can represent different types of food that the dolphins eat, such as herring, mackerel, or sardines. They can also represent different tools that the dolphins know how to use to get food out of a special tool site container. And they can also represent different action words such as go, search, and find. Now basically the way this session is set up is this is going to be like a big treasure hunt for both the trainers and the dolphins. Neither of them know where any of the goodies are hidden in the aquarium. And what they need to do is use the dolphin keyboard to communicate with each other to find all those different goodies that are hidden throughout. The only ones who know where the goodies are hidden are the dolphin research interns. So you'll see them swimming throughout the aquarium during the session, hiding food or toys or tools. Now the way those keys are activated is the dolphin can insert their rostrum into the circular opening, or the trainer can insert their hand. Then an invisible light beam is broken and the key is activated. Now here in the observation deck, we hear the English version of the symbol played, and that's simply for our benefit. It's very important that you understand that we're not trying to teach those dolphins how to speak English.
White bait. Divider.
Okay, our informer, Drew, who serves as a third person in the water, just let trainer Mark and Dolphin Bob know that there's white bait over at the divider location. So if you notice, Dolphin Bob looked over at his trainer Mark. Mark nodded his head yes, and they headed over to the divider location. Now, let me take a minute and mention that it is actually illegal to interact or feed wild dolphins out in the wild. Although you see people interacting with the dolphins here at the Living Seas, it's important that you understand that they are trained dolphins and they are used to having people in the water with them. Interacting or feeding wild dolphins can actually be very dangerous to yourselves or the dolphins.
We'll head over to another part of the Living Seas where Tim is checking out some baby sharks.
Welcome to our mariculture lab here at the Living Seas. This is where we grow all the things that are being grown around farms around the world, especially around the United States.
So you have samples of a little bit of everything.
Exactly. So these are things, for example, you would like to know about the skate embryos?
Yes.
The skates are used, let me move this out of the way here so you can see them a little bit better. The skates here are a type of ray that lay this egg case. And the thing that's interesting about them is that they stay in the egg case for about 14 weeks. Wow. And during that time of development, about the 4th week, they get their gills. And so holes open up inside the egg case, and water gets inside, and they start breathing. So you can basically cut them open from the egg case and watch them develop outside the egg case. They normally take 14 weeks to hatch out, and that's about this age right here.
So what you've got is
We've got some very young ones here.
very different stages.
About 5 weeks, 6 weeks on up. You can see the yolk sac, which is their food source, and that's one of the reasons why we can open them up, because they can actually...
Comes right with them.
Exactly. So they have their food source, they have their gills, they're protected by the trays, and you can watch their development. These are some of the guys left over
how old
from
are
last
these?
year. They're about, let's see, probably 52 weeks old.
Wow.
Or 52, right, 52 weeks old.
Wow.
So they've done very well from last year. We give them back to Moat Marine Laboratory in Sarasota, Florida, and they continue to give us eggs as we go along.
My
So it's a
goodness.
continuous display.
So this is
Our
very
sharks
early-
over here.
Oh,
yes, this is some
sharks.
Yes. So we have two separate types of sharks here, and both we've raised up here at the Living Seas. The white-spotted bamboo sharks, or people call them the banded cat shark, we have up here, and the epaulet sharks, which are the little guys way up in the corner in the front. Now, we raised those guys up last year, so they're about 1.5 years old. And the white-spotted bamboo sharks, the youngest one was probably born around, I'd say around December 25th. In fact, I think that's the Christmas shark, in fact.
Oh, really?
Yes, in fact...
Now what's I was going to ask,
That's
the
his
small...
yolk sac attached
okay,
to
that's
him
the
as
yolk
well.
sac.
Now the eggs are a little bit different from the skates. The thing that's interesting about them is that they have a almost like a spider web type attachment to it. We've cut most of it off so it doesn't collect anything on it, but it hangs down to about here. And what the female does is when she lays the skate egg, or the shark egg, she wraps it around a coral piece. And the stuff is so tough, we almost have to like snip it off with scissors to pull it off.
Oh my gosh.
After we pull it off, we can actually bring it up to our trays like that. And we usually, all these guys we've raised up the same way, we can cut them open prematurely with our scalpels. And as long as they're ready to go and they have their gills, they can develop inside the...
stays attached. And
Exactly.
So they can develop right there.
In fact, the yolk sac actually becomes part of their stomach lining. It goes up inside, seals off, and then they hatch out between... It opens up like a Ziploc bag almost. And they pop out and they're ready to go. They've got their food.
That's incredible.
And once they've developed enough, they're miniature adults and they're ready to take care of themselves.
What a neat experience for people to be able to see the development like this. This is something, I mean, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
You're quite
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
There's still more from The Living Seas when we come back. New at the Zoo is on the internet. Look for it on Greystone Online, www.wate.com. We'd like to hear your questions and comments about New at the Zoo. Write us or send an email to the address on your screen.
Welcome back to Disney World. We're just in time to see what manatees eat for lunch.
And looks like we have our first little visitor. This is Gene. Gene is an adult male West Indian manatee. Gene was born in the wild, and when he was approximately 5 years old, of course that is estimated, he was struck and seriously injured in a boating accident. Now, if you can get a good shot of Gene's side of his body, you can see some white marks. That is scar tissue from the accident. Now, as I said, Gene was struck when he was about 5. He is now 27 years old. So that's a real good indication as to how long these injuries can last and how devastating they can be. The individual that just joined us on my left-hand side is Hurricane. Hurricane's also an adult male. He was born actually down south at the Miami Seaquarium, and he is 14 years old. He was born November 23rd, 1983. Now, you might wonder how they got their names. Well, Hurricane is named after the Miami Hurricanes college football team. Gene is named after the lady that found him and reported him to the authorities. So that was kind of nice. Both of these animals are about 10 feet in length. Gene, on my right, weighs right around 1,700 pounds. Hurricane is approximately 1,850 pounds. And those weights are pretty close because we do actually weigh them with a certain amount of regularity. So that's not an estimate. That's pretty good, pretty accurate measurement there. Currently, I'm feeding them a mixture of apples, bananas, broccoli, carrots. I have some kale in here as well. These animals are herbivores, and herbivores, just like an elephant or a cow, they eat nothing but vegetation. These happen to be their goodies. This is kind of like giving them their ice cream, so to speak. These are the items that they prefer to eat. They are fed in regulated amounts, just like any other zoo animal, for nutritional requirements. The other item that they eat on a regular basis, of course, is floating around the pool right now, and that would be romaine lettuce. Like typical herbivores, they eat an incredible amount of food compared to their body size. Each of these animals will eat better than 100 pounds of food every single day. And give you an idea of the volume, that's the equivalent of about 60 to 100 heads of lettuce per animal, 3 to 4 pounds of apples, 3 to 4 pounds of carrots, a couple bunches of broccoli per animal. It's quite a bit of food, actually. It's quite a bit to look at. Now, these animals are quite docile, unfortunately, because they don't even seem to have the capability to protect themselves, which is one of the reasons that they are frequently injured in boating accidents. They don't swim very fast. By comparison, a typical bottlenose dolphin can swim at about 24 miles per hour. The average manatee only reaches speeds of about 3 miles per hour. So when they are approached by a boat very quickly, it's difficult for them to get out of the way. One of the interesting facts about manatees that's kind of funny to look at is that because they have a paddle, many scientists do believe that a long time ago, sailors mistook these animals for mermaids. One of the little jokes we make, of course, is that these guys must have been at sea a real long time to make that type of mistake. The manatees are quite sweet, but they don't look like the typical Daryl Hannah type mermaid. But they are very sweet animals. People do ask all the time, do we interact with them? Well, we interact with them in any type of capacity that is necessary for proper care. And what I mean by that is they are taught certain types of veterinary or husbandry behaviors. They're taught to come when called. They do allow us to roll them over for any type of physical exam. They do allow us to swim with them safely for all the different necessary pool cleaning tasks that have to be taken care of on a daily basis. The manatees can hold their breath for upwards of 20 minutes. On average, they probably do take a breath about every 3 to 5 minutes or so. There's really no need here to hold their breath for any length of time. Like other marine mammals, specifically whales and dolphins, manatees do propel themselves through the water using their tail. On a whale or a dolphin, that tail is called a tail fluke. On a manatee, it's referred to as a paddle, for very obvious reasons. When you look at it, it's shaped very much like a beaver paddle, obviously much larger. They do use it in an up and down fashion as well. All marine mammals do move their tails, paddle, or fluke in an up and down fashion.
Wow, Tim.
I can't believe that. That is all so incredible.
Now, you know, the great thing that I understood about this whole thing is that not only did we see animals and wonderful people and wonderful tour guides, but you come out there with a whole different feeling about the underwater kingdom.
Oh, it's wonderful, and the respect you get while you're in there for what's there and what's going on in terms of conservation, and just the awe of the animals is tremendous.
Great for a biology field trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, we have had a wonderful time.
Yep.
Even though we're not at the Knoxville Zoo, there's always something new at the zoo.
Absolutely.
And we have some interesting stuff that's ahead. So the ocean comes in.
Get going, huh?
That is true. Hey, we hope you've enjoyed the visit to the Living Seas, and we hope to see you next week, everybody.